Proof of life answers two questions. Is there a deal at all? Is it with you? You guys should be proof of lifing every initial call before the listing appointment. We get a call, the person says, we want to see what you can do about selling our house. And you're like, great, tell me where it is. I'll do some research. And then you do your research and you put together this beautiful pack with all the comps in it. And, you got colors and a nice little binder in the folder and blah, blah, blah. And you go to their house and you spend 90 minutes talking about expectation, experience, what you bring to the table. And they say, thank you very much. We'll get back to you. And now 90 minutes of your day, it's just for the presentation. It was much longer than that, pulling that packet together. 90 minutes of the day, plus the time it took you to prep, gone. Gone. You'll never get it back. And now you're hoping there will be some reciprocity. You're hoping that the person that you just dealt with understands what you went through to put that packet together, what you went through to drive to their home, what you went through to make sure that the presentation sounded professional. You're hoping to be rewarded for that there will be some reciprocity that's never going to come because they had no intentions on doing business with you to begin with. Proof of life answers that question before you go through all of that. Are you the fool or are you the favorite? That's what the proof of life answers. Is there a deal at all? Is it with you? Sometimes there's a deal, it's just not with you. And they're using you for due diligence. They're using you to compare and contrast. They're using you as a rabbit. And when I say using you as a rabbit, they're using you as a rabbit that other agents that they really want to work with can chase at a cheaper rate. And so proof of life should be one of the first things out of your mouth to determine, am I the fool or am I the favorite? If you are the fool, wouldn't you rather know that early in the relationship as opposed to after the listing appointment? If you're the favorite, does that not embolden you to take more decisive actions in the relationship? Well, it should. And so what is the proof of life? It's simply a why question. Why makes people defensive when we normally tell you don't use a why question because you don't want to make your counterpart defensive. There's one time when you want to make them defensive, and that is when they're defending you. Why would you ever consider using me as a listing agent? You've got hundreds of other opportunities or options out there. Why me? There's a local agent here in Atlanta, Jerry Metcalf, simply puts it, why am I here? Why am I here? If they can't give you a robust response to that, you may have a problem. I'm not telling you to hang up the phone and say, don't call me back, but it's not starting off well. There's nobody on this call right now that has ever bought anything without talking to somebody else first. And so that means they thought about it. And if you ask that question of a prospective client and they can't give you, let's be quite honest, an answer that satisfies you, you're probably wasting your time. If they hit you with, I don't know, you tell me. Why should I work with you? That's a problem. If they tell you, why wouldn't I work with you? That's a problem. And so you want to put them in a position where they have to speak your value proposition before you ever have to. Anna Maria talked about one of the things that she talks about is her extensive experience. I want to hear my extensive experience coming out of their mouth. That's what I want. That's the appropriate proof of life response. If they can tell you exactly what it is that attracted them to you. If they say, you were referred to us by a neighbor whose house you helped sell last year. It was a trying time. It was a trying experience, but she was happy with the way that you walked her through the entire transaction. You kept surprises to a minimum, and you were a fantastic advocate on their behalf. And so we thought we'd give you a call. That's solid proof of life. I'm calling you because I saw your name on the side of a bus as it was going by. Not so much. Good jumping off point. There's going to be places for you to probe a little more to find out. I got your postcard in the mail. Well, the fact that they picked up the phone and called the number on the postcard is huge. What was it about and this is going to give you information as to how effective your marketing is as well. What was it on the postcard? Get them to say something positive about you. Not only is it going to tell you if there's a deal at all and if it's with you, but because they speak your value proposition into existence, what have you artificially initiated by having them do that? I guess it's not artificial. I guess it's organic. Mm-hmm. What have you initiated? When they speak your value proposition, there's a rule that they have initiated that they don't even realize. It's under the surface, but you need to be aware of it. That is the rule of consistency. Human beings want to be viewed as consistent in word and thought and in action. And so, let's see. So, Carolyn, they can't tell you on the one hand, you're the greatest thing since sliced bread. I'm not going to pay your commission, because those two things don't line up. You can't tell me that I can do no wrong in your eyes and then say I'm not worth the price. Because people want to be viewed as consistent in word, in thought, and in action, you have, or they themselves have subconsciously painted themselves into the consistency corner, because ultimately you will be making an ask of them, and it's going to be increasingly harder for them to push back against that ask after they've already told you how great you are. What I wanted to do real quick, I wanted to, now that we brought this up, Marcel, I'm going to read an excerpt from an interview that we did with
Regina.
Yeah, with Regina. So she's working with an investor trying to purchase multi-unit property. And I talk a lot about diagnosing and forecasting. And so she says to this guy, I got some things that we need to talk about that could be deal breakers for you, and maybe even bad news, because so far, our relationship has been going pretty well, and this might throw a wrench into the works. But I wanted to put it on the table. And she says, there's my top 10 list of reasons why you're not going to work with me. Actually, and in an attempt at humor, she says, actually, there's only 4. And she started off, first and foremost, I'm a full service, full fee agent. I charge 6%. And on that 6%, I take 3.5%. I'm going to encourage you to price the property at a price that will cause it to sell and sell quickly. And that might very well be at a price that's less than what you'd like to see. I'm going to encourage you to invest in preparing it for sale, and you're going to need to stage the home. I do not work 24/7. You're never going to have to try to work hard to find me before 6 p.m., but after 6 p.m., my phone goes off, as well as on Saturday. And so she left it at that. She backs away from this guy because they're at a dusty construction site. She's trying to talk through a mask over construction, over dust. And his only response was, "Why aren't you splitting the commission equally between you and the buyer, 3% each?" And she said, at that point, I knew that I was the favorite because I threw out the groundwork, set the expectations of what it's going to be like to work with me. And the only question that he had was, why aren't you splitting the commission right down the middle? That's courageous. That's some fearless stuff right there, because most would be afraid that any one of those things that came out of her mouth would send them running for the hills. And when he asked that question, she said, I knew I had him. She flipped it back and asked the why question anyway, just to make sure that her assumption was correct. And she indeed did have them. And now, she's killing it like that. She's going on so many less listing appointments because she's diagnosing and forecasting up front. She's using accusations audits to let the client or the prospective client know what the lay of the land looks like, that she knows what the lay of the land looks like. She's able to diagnose and forecast, and those things alone are enough to establish the trust needed for you to win almost every presentation without doing a presentation. And so that's what proof of life is, determining why they want to do business with you.